Hey everyone, my name is Allison. I am 25 years old, originally from the city of Philadelphia, but I'm currently living in Atlanta, Georgia. And we are here today in my friend Gabriel's kitchen, who was nice enough to let me use his space to do this home video. I've definitely always loved cooking. It's always been a part of my day, a part of, bringing smiles to everybody's faces. And as a consequence of that, my mom started this cookbook for me when I was 16 years old, which is a collection of family recipes and favorites that we've been eating for years and generations. And I continue to add to this as my cookbook that I take with me everywhere. So what we're going to be making today is ratatouille with meatloaf and sweet potatoes, as well as some kale, which is representative of my heritage. My dad originally being from Mississippi, and my mom being of French descent. This dish will definitely represent those two flavors on the plate. Let's get to it. Okay, so one thing that I always like to stress when I'm cooking, I like to be very organized. So having everything set out and prepped. I'm getting ready to do my yoga, which I do every day to work out, and run, which is another one of my loves. So just to let you know a little bit about me, at my biggest weight, I was 237 pounds, mainly because I love food and I love to eat good food. But I'm only 5'2", so that was, of course, unhealthy for a lot of reasons. So another major reason why food has been so important to me in my journey thus far is that I went from cooking food that made me fat to changing the way that I knew how to cook and eat, so that I fed myself down to 125 pounds. We're here in my kitchen. It's not too exciting, but as you can see, there's definitely my favorite mixer right over here and a picture of my little one. This is where all the magic happens, my favorite room in any space. And also here is a picture of my lovely midget, as we call her, Zunaya Abeni. Keep her right next to my oven so that her energy is with me whenever I'm in. While the oil is getting hot, I went ahead and diced up my shallot and my onion, as well as the garlic. Now, garlic is one of my favorite ingredients to use, so I'm going to go ahead and add 1 extra clove of garlic than the recipe actually calls for. Now, if you didn't already know, ratatouille is a traditional French cuisine, and it's also my daughter's favorite movie. Now, in the movie Ratatouille, Gusteau says that anybody can cook, and I entirely agree. I remember when I first saw that movie and the little wraps, smelling everything, make sure all the ingredients went together. That is definitely how I learned to cook. By just getting in the kitchen and kind of putting all my flavors and senses together to what I thought would taste good. So, in honor of ratatouille, I'm going to go ahead and add this to my already hot oil. And I'm going to just let that simmer for about 4 to 5 minutes until they get to be clear in color. And then once they cook down, I'm going to go ahead and add a can of tomato paste, season it with a little salt and pepper, and then let that cook down before we puree it into a sauce. But my zucchini, I have squash, an eggplant, and some tomatoes, and that's going to be the meat of the ratatouille, the meat and potatoes of the ratatouille. Now, definitely, when I was growing up, I remember that, cooking in the kitchen is not only about being systematic, but also about learning different techniques in terms of being creative, learning different measurements. It's very important to be safe in the kitchen, and since I was in the kitchen often by myself, definitely things like cutting vegetables was something that I practiced over and over and over again, because vegetables are also one of my favorite things to cook as well as eat, because I like to eat healthy. Live long, live strong.
So you can imagine why working out to lose weight meant that breakfast became a constant big meal to make every day and to still make good. So every day I was cooking breakfast.
Where we will be cooking up sweet home fries today. We're going to be taking our traditional red potatoes, sweet potatoes, a little bit of olive oil, green onion, and a few extra things that we can find around the house so that we can make this sweet home fried breakfast creation. Let's see what we can cook up.
No, we're gonna make cookie doughs first.
Pizza dough.
Pizza dough.
Pizza dough.
And pizza dough.
We're going to make a deep dish pizza here in Chicago, which is famous for its deep dish style pizza, and we're going to be making our dough from scratch.
And we're going to make some pizzas for everyone.
That's right. We're going to be feeding 9 people on a $35 budget, and we're going to start here with making our dough. Poached eggs, scrambled eggs, fish and grits, more funky pancakes, protein pancakes, waffles, whatever. I was doing it. Alright, now this sauce is looking really good. I've added in my tomato paste and let it cook down for a little bit. You see it's still kind of chunky, but that's okay because I'm going to go ahead and put it in the blender here to make a nice puree for the bottom of our ratatouille. So I'm just going to go ahead and spoon that right into there. And this sauce is actually full with a lot of flavor, which is going to help to cook into the vegetables as it's baking. So now I got that all in there. Go ahead and turn that oven off. You can do this in a blender or a food processor. I don't have either, so we're using the smoothie machine. Okay, just blend that. Only takes about 20 seconds. And now you see, it's a nice sauce. Okay, so around, this is the base. And then season that with a little bit of salt and pepper again. And this one I'm using smoked sea salt, delicious. And black pepper. And fresh herbs, I always like to use as many fresh ingredients as possible. So we're gonna put a little fresh thyme on there. Salmon, casseroles, delicious lunches, creative salads, salad dressing. 5 days in 1, meal prep. Over here, I've already sliced up my vegetables. The idea is to kind of get them about 1/4 inch in width. And this is fun too for me because I definitely remember as a kid learning, how to do my math or trouble with fractions or just anything dealing with like circumference or diameter. And where do you use that? For me, it was always in the kitchen. And so in making this today, one of the things I noticed that the grocery store did not have the eggplant that I needed. But I just went ahead and got a regular eggplant and just used the neck of it. And the reason why you use traditionally a Japanese or Chinese eggplant would be so that the circumference, there's that word again, is the same as your zucchini and your squash. High school, I would love pasta. Lots of fettuccine, lots of angel hair. Anything fun, funky you could do with pasta. Make a casserole. But I definitely mastered Alfredo sauce from scratch with a little shrimp on it. And my first high school boyfriend, I definitely cooked him dinner and set it up like it was a whole restaurant setting. Invited him with an RSVP and made a reservation. And when he showed up at my door that night, there was a sign on the front door that said, "Welcome to Alamir's Cafe." Creating a restaurant in my house. Love to role play and just put my chef hat on. Okay, so now I have all of my vegetables in their pattern. We have an A, B, C, D pattern going on here. Learning patterns in the kitchen, most definitely. So once you get them all set, it should look something like this. Then you're just going to go ahead and add some olive oil to the top, just like that. And a little bit of extra thyme. All this thyme on my hands. That was corny, but that's me. So here's a little secret about music and me in the kitchen. When I was a kid, my dad used to always sing while he was cooking, and he would sing this song, calamari, fettuccine, calamari, fettuccine, Alfredo. What does that mean? I don't know. It just was a funny little thing he would sing. So there's definitely always music as well as food in any kitchen, which is why I call mine the rhythm kitchen.
We're going to add the salt and the oil. First, we're going to add the salt. Where's the salt? Oh, here's salt. Okay, now we're going to put the Oreo in. Okay, now we're going just to smell it. And it smells quite good. And sometimes you can't get it the first time.
That's right. And so what do we do when we can't get it the first time?
But first you need to get it. You just need to eat it.
Now it's time for the meatloaf. So I already have my 2 pounds of meat already in here. This is where you get your hands dirty. It's kind of fun. I'm hands-on, so you can't go wrong with this. In my meatloaf, you can either use turkey, beef, or lamb. I like to use lamb, but for today we're just going to use ground beef. I've already had the other half of my onion chopped up from before. Go ahead and dump that in there. Add about 1/4 cup of ketchup, or just squeeze it till it looks good. I like sweet as well, so about 2 tablespoons of dark brown sugar. Make sure it's dark, that's very important. And then you can use breadcrumbs. I like to use the chicken flavor stovetop just because it adds tons of flavor and it gives it a cool texture. So just go ahead and dump that in there. About a cup. I like to eyeball. Don't really use measuring cups. And then just go ahead and dig your hands in. Okay, we are really in the kitchen now. This meatloaf recipe is straight out of that cookbook that I showed you earlier. Even though this is falling apart, these recipes are always super delicious to incorporate. So now that I've blended everything together, I'm going to go ahead and just chop up some fresh parsley to add into that mixture. And then I'm going to show you a variation of how to serve your meatloaf using some baking pans. I have a muffin pan over here as well as a 9-inch cake pan. And like I said, that'll just be a fun little thing that I always like to do since I love baking. If I can incorporate any type of baking utensil or baking pan when making my food recipes, I always try to. Okay, so now we see this is all blended together well and the nice colors. We're gonna have to smell it. Smells good to me. So now the first thing that I'm gonna do is take about half of this. Go ahead and just flop it right here on my cutting board. Kind of press it into a flat square, or rectangle rather. I'm going to go ahead and put some feta cheese, any kind of cheese will do. Mozzarella cheese works nicely, blue cheese even if you like to go that way. I just prefer feta, so we're just going to fill this up with some feta. And then I'm going to roll it up like a cinnamon roll. This, I guess you could say, is one of those cooking experiments that I tried with this recipe. But it turns out pretty cool. I like it. You're gonna love it. So now that you have your roll, you're gonna, just like you would with traditional cinnamon rolls, go ahead and slice that down. Okay, and those will bake up pretty nicely, and it'll make plating even easier as well. Is that you saying how good this looks? Mm-hmm. I love cheese. What, can you blame me? Another way to do it is go ahead and make meatloaf cupcakes. These are always fun because when you go ahead to plate them, you can actually make some mashed potatoes if you like that, and then put the mashed potatoes into a pastry bag or a Ziploc bag and treat it like icing to ice the top of your meatloaf cupcakes. And then you have some meatloaf cinnamon rolls and meatloaf cupcakes. Okay, now chopping sweet potatoes. This is going to be a fun way to incorporate one of my favorite vegetables and favorite ingredients. Sweet potatoes, you can use them in anything. Pies, cakes, sweet mashed potatoes, sweet baked potatoes, anytime I can use a sweet potato, I try to. Now, one of my favorite things about being able to be versatile and experimental in the kitchen is that when you're cooking for a lot of people, which I often like to do, you're catering to different taste buds, different styles, and especially being as though I have a 5-year-old who eats most of my food, I have to do really fun and funky stuff to make sure that it's always exciting for her to eat. So, ooh, look at that. The ratatouille looks delicious. See that hot steam coming off of it? And I'm potatoes. Nice and brown. Cooking has always been something that was like, my way of participating in this space, or getting to know people, allowing people to get to know me. Because food definitely brings a smile to people's faces. It brings people together. And there's so many lessons that you can learn around cooking food and just being in the kitchen in general. So now I'm going to use my artsy creative side and go ahead and plate this up for you all. You see all these colors going on. We have a light meal as well as a colorful meal.
I just want to help you.
Go wash your hands.
I want to help you.
You have to wash your hands if you're going to help me.
Do that?
Yes.
Okay.
You can't put your hands in food unless you wash your hands.
Okay.
Here's the final presentation. We have tons of layers of color as well as flavor, starting at the bottom with the traditional southern yams and kale, and then again our meatloaf topped with the French style ratatouille, and then of course I sprinkle my plate with some feta cheese just to top it off and make it super delicious. Now plates like this, who would not love to just dive right into that? I know I would, and I just wanted to reiterate that food is definitely something that I always want to be able to bring to any space that I possibly can. And, just having the opportunity to participate in any type of competition of this nature where I get to highlight my creative skills as well as, cook for any and everybody that's willing to try. This definitely means a lot to me, as well as my little girl who is, rooting me on and hoping for the best so that everybody can see that this is much bigger than us. And even this apron that I'm wearing is something that my mom handmade for me. So if you can't already tell, family, flavor, and color are three pillars that I choose to live my life by. So a year ago this time, we were packing up our apartment. We were facing an eviction, didn't know what was going to come next. So being able to win a competition like this could really, really, really change our life in a huge way. You have no idea.
I'm in the kitchen with Sweet Cake Mommy, and I'm Cupcake Brown.
Loving everybody, rhythm in your love, feed everybody in more ways than one. Now dig in, let them know how it tastes.
Oh my goodness. You made this?
You saw me make it.
I thought you went to the store while I was going to the bathroom or something.
Hey, I forgot to tell you guys, all the ingredients for this cost only $20. Wow. So you can cook amazing food on a super tight budget and still eat like a king and queen. Okay, everybody, thank you for your time watching me cook in the kitchen. I hope everybody has a light and colorful day. Mwah!